The primary polls for the East African Regional Assembly, especially within the ruling party, elicited rancor and acrimony early this week at State House Entebbe. Earlier on, reports in mainstream media had emerged that the MPs who will cast votes for their colleagues openly ask for money, something akin to a marketplace where the highest bidder would be elected. The FDC and DP also sent their representatives to Parliament, who will be voted by the entire House. However, many questions remain unanswered. On the spotlight is the FDC party president, retired Mr. General Mugisha Muntu, the Lord Mayor, Erias Lukwago, the State Minister for East African Affairs, Julius Wandera Maganda, and the former General Duties Minister, Professor Tarsis Kabwejere. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. All of you are on the spotlight. This national spotlight is on you. Let me begin right in the middle with the Professor Tarsis Kabwejere. Why we saw rancor and acrimony at State House in the election of the party members who are to represent NRM in EALA. But the kind of acrimony that was there, abuses the sanctity of State House. Why take a party issue to State House and then even behave in a manner that they did?
Well, you have come to a conclusion, and I wonder what you want me to say, because you seem to be saying you have analyzed and you have come to a conclusion. To me, the political game, like any other game, there are injuries, there are successes, there are failures, there are losses, there are gains. And in my experience, this is the largest number of people wishing to be members of East African Legislative Assembly, when we know that there are only nine seats. But the applicants were how many? Do you remember? So many. Just like the last election, we had again the largest number of candidates for presidency. And if we check through, you'll find that even in parliamentary elections, for constituencies, you had so many people. I stood in Igara West and we were 7, were went to 8, just for one seat. So there is an enthusiasm, obviously. There is an enthusiasm, and we need to study why there is so much enthusiasm for these positions. If you were to put together the people who stood for parliament, okay, they are in their thousands. Let alone those who stood for local councils and so on and so forth. And you are going to get a situation where we are also electing LC1s and LC2s.
No, that's not
no, wait. Because you see, it is not a simple thing and focusing a meeting in State House. You need to analyze the whole situation, the climate. What is the climate? And if you want to explain what why things are happening, you need to check what are the factors operating in that period, that particular things happening now. So what I'm saying, Mr. Kamara, is that don't focus only on what happened in the State House. This may be a manifestation of a bigger. Is it only in NRM or is it also in other parties? Okay? Did FDC have only one candidate? Did DP have only one candidate? And there are
all these challenges. So are you presiding over a poor political climate in Uganda? Because you are a party in power, you are a majority party in the House. You have the biggest numbers.
I am sitting in NTV tonight, on this day of the month, and of this day of the year, and I am recognizing that I am not anywhere, but I am in this particular studio. So I'm in Uganda, and I'm looking at how Uganda should be understood, rather than isolating one meeting place one state house, when there are also other situations which are operating, are they similar? Do they manifest the same kind of situation or not? That to me is the sociological analysis of things, rather than focus on one meeting, which will not give you the true picture.
So the true picture is bigger than Entebbe?
Precisely.
Okay.
Very interesting.
The true picture, it is uglier than that. Yeah. So why, Honorable Maganda?
And I would want to advise you.
Yes.
No, you have made
wait. Uglier. You see, when you use evaluative terms, you actually color responses. And I would really want us to be objective as much as possible. Because when you say that is ugly,
look,
is it ugly?
Professor Tassis,
Is it ugly?
I picked one specific place,
yes.
and I thought there was acrimony there.
No,
and you're telling me, look, it's bigger.
Yes, and
So
you're saying ugly.
It's worse
You are
than
saying,
I
is
thought.
it ugly?
But hold on to your point. Honorable Maganda, you're the Minister of State for East African Affairs. And there are allegations that your colleagues were actually, money was exchanging hands, voter bribery, right at the seat of power, an area that was supposed that is a fountain of honor. What a disgrace!
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick. I want to appreciate the call for us to come and discuss the issue of this EALA primaries. And I'm happy that our party, NRM, conducted the elections yesterday. In any political environment where there is an election, definitely there are some lapses that will come out. But today, across Africa, and I believe even the whole world, the issue of politics now coming out with the being commercialized is now big. I cannot say that there's one member or one particular voter who can come out clear and put it on paper that he either paid for a vote or he received the money. But the most important is that people can mobilize, colleagues, get out probably to areas, have a glass of water as you work out strategies on how you get to the victory. I don't think that whether that is a bribe, and it is allowed even within the law. But issues of allegations will always come up. What we should be discussing right now is why did we have a very big turnout over these few slots, and whether in the perspective of the EAC and the laws that we have under the treaty, trying whether the countries across the region are making the same kind of election into selection of the candidates or the members of parliament to EALA, whether we are using the same law. Is Rwanda having the same scenario the way Uganda has had? Is the same applying to Tanzania? Now, there are lapses within the law. We have given our national parliaments a lot of power, and the treaty has not given it more clear. As much as it allows for us...
So are you suggesting we go maybe the Rwanda way, where I'm told you just have to appoint? Not
when we are having issues and problems that I imagine...
Is that what the treaty says?
The treaty does not come out to say that Parliament will elect. But again, the powers within our constitution gives the rules of procedure which Parliament comes up with to elect the members of EALA. Now, at the same time, when we remove that aspect of members of EALA being elected by the national parliament, the executive, the party executives can elect, and only Parliament will now confirm these members as members of EALA.
Okay,
it is being done in Rwanda.
Let me bring in His Worship the Lord Mayor, because you are from a legal background. Is it the treaty that is not giving us the best way through which we can elect legislators for EALA?
No, let us not take refuge into legal fictions. I think my brother here, the Honorable Minister, is not being true to himself. Yes, there could be some lapses here and there, or gaps here and there, but they have been manipulated. He's talking about Article 50 of the treaty, which provides for the mechanisms of selecting these members. It can't be elaborate, certainly. It can't provide for all the procedures you would want to have in place. But he states the principle that, look, in as much as you are considering your numerical strength in your respective legislative assemblies, you have to reserve certain slots for the other political shades of opinion. And in this particular case, these people were I'm telling you, I don't know whether it's because of greed or because of I don't know what, they decide to allocate themselves 6 out of 9, leaving other shades of opinion only 3 slots.
What would
And
be the fair number?
you know what is happening? What would be the fair number? You have a case where you have, I mean, 3 political parties.
Strings.
Yes, but there I gave you time. Those parties, of course, whether they have 10, 11, 36, whatever, they are represented in the House. So that has to be put into consideration. So in my opinion, what would be the reasonable number for NRM, since they command the majority of the MPs in the House? Probably they should have had at least 4. Then you get FDC with 2. UPC 1, DP 1, and Independent 1, or whichever. That would be a better arrangement. Anyway, that is for another day. But permit me 1-2 minutes to respond to what Mzee said. You know, we have a saying in my language that obukadde magezi, age is wisdom. Today Mzee has been extremely honest to say what actually you are witnessing unfolding in State House, what the kind of despicable situation you have described here, the way they desecrated the State House, the sanctity of the State House, is a manifestation of a bigger problem within the body politic in this country. And that is actually true. That is the position we are having in this country. That actually these people have vulgarized the politics of this country. And I was shocked to see President Museveni riding a motor horse. That, you know...
No, but actually when the professor talks, he doesn't talk about these people. He talks about all of us, including you, Honorable Yas.
Yeah, but who takes the biggest blame?
You see?
Because the person... No, look here. It is President Museveni who has provided the central focus for everything in this country. So here we are talking about the rot there is within all the systems in the country. So who do you blame in the party press?
How is President
Let me bring in the president of FDC, Professor Tassis.
Which talking?
Okay, gentlemen, one at a time. Let me bring in the General Muntu. When you decide to send 2 members in representing all shades of opinion, like they say, you're also acting like them, if there's them and others. You're also acting like NRM because you're not considering that there are other smaller parties, perhaps. Why 2? And first of all, I'm told one is even taken through a back door.
Absolutely not. It was a decision made by a meeting, working committee meeting, which I chaired. So nobody was taken through a back door. But let me first make some few comments on what has already been said. There are some things we take casually in this country. The NRM caucus shouldn't have been sitting in State House. But you see, the regime or the leader who leads the regime has created a sense of lack of separation between the state and the ruling party. There needs to be a consciousness in doing things because we have got to build a culture. The biggest problem that we have, maybe trying to refer to what the professor was talking about, the problems we notice now are a manifestation of a negative, wrong culture that we have had established in this country for a long time. Anybody who's going to succeed to turn this country, put on the right track, must tackle that culture. We are reaping what has been sowed for quite a long time. When you sow manipulation, when you sow deception, when you sow bribery, as you are saying in politics, that's what you reap. That's exactly what we are seeing. And that's what we must confront in all ways possible to overcome it. Parties, even when they are in government, must ensure that they make a separation between what is the state
Well, when
and
they are
what
in
are party
opposition.
issues.
Well, when
Even
they are in
those who are in
opposition.
which are in opposition, because we are going to face some challenges. I know. Some of us have been in power.
The system we're going to really help.
Incidentally, some of us have been in power, and we left the positions that we were in, conscious of the fact that if we don't tackle that culture and change it, we will remain stuck, we will remain in a vicious cycle. So some of the things we take casually, those who are conscious, whether they are in the regime, whether in the opposition, we must focus on them and see how to change them. The ruling party needs to know that if they have got party activities, they should go Chadondo, anywhere else, not in State House. Anyway, that's one matter that we can leave to them. They may succeed and change, they may fail. If they fail, we will do it different. However, on the question of numbers, okay, even if we don't contest the numbers, even if you are to use the numerical strength and then you have 6, how on earth can you have a process which everybody has known for the last 5 years that it will come to be? You don't have any guidelines. There are no guidelines for the main exercise in Parliament. Even the ruling party didn't have guidelines for their own competition to choose the 6, and that's why there was the fight that you are talking about. But they knew that they were going to have that election. And you end up, you saw what the fallout that happened. No guidelines. But that's consistent, so not only with EALA. See, LC1 elections. They say we're going to have LC1 elections in March. 1 month away. To elect leaders in 60,000 positions. No guidelines which are known. As we speak today, all of us, the party leaders in the opposition, have no guidelines as how this election is going to be conducted. Even when we have had contestation around EALA for the last 10 years, we have had cases brought to the courts in Tanzania, we've had cases brought to the courts in Kenya, we've had cases brought to or taken to court from here in Uganda. But there is a summit for East African community. There is a council of ministers. If they don't realize that there is a problem in that article, and therefore sit down and do the necessary amendments, how would they not expect what is happening in some of the states? But that's on a different level. Here, at the national level, it's the ruling party that should have anticipated this, put in place the necessary mechanism. They should have included all stakeholders so that we discuss, agree on guidelines early enough, and wouldn't be having the problems that we've had. Fortunately for us in FDC, we had our guidelines. We discussed them in all party organs. We addressed all the candidates who are going to participate. We had a peaceful election. All those who participated in the election were satisfied with it. They signed forms. And eventually, because we didn't know the guidelines in Parliament, and in our estimation, we thought that we might end up with 2 slots. Nominations are ending today. We said, let's send the 2 as we wait for the guidelines. Tomorrow, we understand we will be given the guidelines. Once we get the guidelines, if they indicate that we have 2 slots, we will retain the 2. If we understand we have only 1 slot, then we would have to maintain only 1 in the competition. We are operating in the dark. So that's unfortunate. I mean,
do you buy that argument that you actually, as a country, operating in the dark, especially in the choosing our leaders that are going to represent us in Arusha?
No, we are not operating in the dark. First of all, I want to bring to this discussion that the elections of EALA are being carried within the law. That the members of EALA have to be elected 90 days before the lapse of the current EALA sitting members of Parliament. That will be in May. Now, 90 days, that by 28th of February, we must have elected. And these people will take a period of 3 months to get to now being sworn in. That is within the law. Now, we are doing it within the period that is prescribed in the law. Now, the second thing is the guidelines which General is talking about are supposed to be brought out by the National Parliament. Because the election of the members of EALA must be done by the National Parliament. Parties can bring the numbers as whatever level they want. Until while the Speaker will come out with a proper guideline. That is how the parties will now get to know that these are for independents, these are for NRM as the majority party, these are for FDs as majority opposition party, and the other kind of...
Can I ask him one question?
Now,
just one question on that.
Just one, and then you go
yes,
for break.
Yes. How did you come up with the figure of 6, the number of 6 rather? That's what you're entitled to as NRM.
Yeah, the aspect of the numerical strength is there. But also is
it applicable only to NRM? It's not applicable to other parties?
The treaty gives the speaker powers to have a discussion whereby it calls it consensus, to develop a consensus within the shades of opinions within parliament.
So has the consensus been developed?
The
Have they reached a consensus?
The consensus can only be developed when we see that the guidelines are out by the speaker.
Okay.
How is the speaker is handling it in the parliament?
So you're also estimating that
we as the party, we as the government, we are not supposed to interfere.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on to your point. Hold on to your point. They are going to take a very quick break, and then we'll return to this discussion. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guest tonight are the Lord Mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, Professor Tarsis Kabwejiri, Honorable Julius Wandera Maganda, and the party chairman of the FDC, retired Major General Mojisha Muntu.
Not party chairman.
Party president.
Yes.
Party president.
Chairman is a different
party president. I apologize for that. Yes, you, Tarsis, Professor Tarsis Kabwejiri.
Yes.
So there's a complaint there that the numbers, even though you have the numerical strength, it is not representative as far as Article 50 is concerned of all shades of opinion in a fair manner.
But you see, you could even ask the question, are we going to the East African Legislative Assembly as parties or as a country? Do we represent FDC, DP, and so on in the East African Legislative Assembly, or we go there to represent Uganda? Uganda has interests in the region. That's question one.
Yeah.
And
how do you reflect the diversities we have in the country?
No, the diversities, we could also have ethnic diversities and so on. We could, religious, we can have all sorts of things. The question is, are we representing all those diversities, or are we representing a country in the United Nations, when we are in the AU, or when we have an ambassador? Is the ambassador now going to represent different parties or whatnot? So that question should be asked. It could be argued that Parliament should sit down, and anybody who wants to apply to be a member of the South African Legislative Assembly should stand, and the election takes place, and the best is chosen according to the voting of the members of Parliament. But we have partisanized it. We have made it a party issue. When you make it a party issue, then numbers count. Then numbers matter. All right? Now, to say don't meet in the State House, meet in a headquarters of a party, that to me is...
Or in a hotel.
That to me is insignificant.
Oh, no.
Having a president moved in all sorts of places, please, you know, there is a security question. In any case, what does it matter? State House, if a party, the president of a party is in the State House. Now you want him to be moving out when there is meeting an ambassador, because that is not whatever.
That's
when
a state function.
Yes. Now, but this is the state matter.
Oh, no.
Listen, listen. We are talking. A president is meeting. Is meeting his party members.
It does not become a state matter.
Now, does the thinking, when you go into a state house, the thinking changes, your mind changes just because you're in a state house? Is the issue a geographical location, or is the type of building where you sit? To me, that is immaterial.
Okay? Influence
now, we can split hairs on that one. But for me, it is as simple as this. Okay? The numbers in today's parliament determine the direction of a partisan political setup, the direction you take. And as we have been sharing here earlier on, the figure 6 seems reasonable for NRM. Okay? And the others share whatever it is they share. Now, how that is decided, where they see to decide the numbers is immaterial, as far as I'm concerned. They could sit in a stadium in Rachivuvo, they could be in a Hotel Africana and do their thing there. It doesn't matter to me. Okay? There is no qualitative difference that will come just because they are met in State House. Second, the debate about the conflict in the State House, people bargaining and people doing all sorts of things. I am saying,
almost exchanging blows.
I'm saying to Ugandans listening to me that if you look into those meetings, whether it is FDC, whether it is DP, whether it is UPC, those wrangles are there. Okay, they are there. But in the State House, you happen to have the numbers, and the focus is there. And because we are all wanting to get to the Legislative Assembly, and we are going there, and we want to get a share, that's why we focus more on State House.
I think I've seen a concern that after 31 years in power, you have not a party headquarters that you have built. After 31 years in power, you cannot hire a hotel to go and do your thing. That is a party issue. I think
that is your problem.
I can feel the power.
That is your problem.
Yes.
Have it. You can contribute to the NRM to build the headquarters. But that is
Honorable Elias Lukwago. Yeah, money was contributed, about 16 billion from business people in Kampala sometime back. Honorable Elias Lukwago, we have seen some members of DP hounded the Honorable Mbide for just appearing as a state function.
Well,
and that is
I want to contextualize that issue.
Why?
You see, President Museveni has cultivated a culture of patronizing everyone in this country and of buying off members of the opposition. Actually, Dr. Besigye has articulated this issue of President Museveni entrenching a dictatorship, using reign of terror, secondly using handouts, and also propaganda. Now, when it comes to hobnobbing with President Museveni, there is that fear, and the presumption is that probably there is something sinister.
But look, you recognize him as an elected head of state. One, there is a state function. Honorable Mbide is a member of parliament representing Uganda and EALA, and he attends it. And that becomes a big thing?
You see, let me tell you this. It's not enough to say it's a state function, and it's also not enough to say that Honorable Mbide is a member of EALA and he attended in that capacity. What comment did President Museveni make about him? That this one is a good DP. So he's the one to judge who is a good DP and a bad DP. You get it? You know what it means? So it is him now to annoy members of DP.
Should you have an issue with that? If I say Elias Lukwago is a good DP, is that the wrong thing?
Oh, so you are trying to judge individual characters within the opposite party.
But you cannot go haywire because of such a comment.
But you have been judging Museveni.
You see,
you have been judging Museveni.
Not making choices for you.
I think the perception.
And the other thing is, actually, the implication of all this, it is this absurdity with the system they have created by manipulating Article 50 and the entire treaty. Because now, after allotting themselves 6 slots, the remaining 3, which are being contested by amongst the other shades of political opinion, the political parties and independents, it is actually NRM to determine. You get where the problem is. They have gone to State House. They have done whatever they have done in the State House, chosen their own 6. Actually, when they go to the House, there's not going to be voting for those 6. It's just ratifying a decision of SEC. Okay. The actual voting is going to be for the other political parties. Because there is a contestation, there is a contest now between FDC, because the slots are not enough for all the shades of opinion in the opposition. You have FDC, you have DP, you have UPC, and the independents. But the slots are 3. So now...
How would you do it? Tell us how you do it better.
Now you see, how would you do it better?
Yes.
I had already given you a formula.
No,
you see, if you were honest, and if you
forget this.
Okay, if
you are honest, you are more honest than me. Go ahead.
All right. You said in every game there are rules and regulations. And in those regulations, there is the principle of fair play. So in this game of EALA and elections, the rule of fair play would warrant that you get a number that is commensurate with what you have in the house and reserve the rest for your opponents.
Okay, let me bring in.
Those would be the fair rules. You'd have like a 4, you'd have like a 4, and reserve the rest for.
Before Honorable Julius, you come in, when you fronting 2 members, and yet there are only 3 positions, and there are 4 together from the opposition, that could actually end up you as FDC even missing out. After all, in this current EALA, you're not there even.
Basically,
so you could go back to what happened.
Yeah, you know, again goes back to the methods that are applied. Because dishonesty, deception, manipulation have been developed into tools of use in politics. And the country is going to pay heavily for that. And that's why I don't know whether General Museveni asks himself this question, if we refer to what happened in Masindi. To find people, like in the opposition or people who are not in a necessary movement, attending a national function, and people become suspicious of that. That shows you the toxicity of the leader of the country. I don't know whether he asks himself that the country can reach a point where they think that if someone who is not in the ruling party is seen with you, there's something wrong happening. It's not about the person who's going to see him, it's about the person whom they have gone to see. That's absolutely unfortunate. I don't know whether he asked himself that. It may have served him for a while, but I think it has really put him in a situation, if he's conscious of it, he needs to start backtracking as he exits to rebuild, hopefully, a legacy around himself. That's one issue. However, on the question Professor talked about, what do we want as a country? Because to me, I see parties simply as vehicles through which you'd be able to elect those who go to Arusha. But the moment you get out of Entebbe Airport or you cross the border going to Arusha, you don't represent the parties. You represent the national interest. Right. So if you are going to do that, I have been in Arusha. We've been there with one of our colleagues, senior colleagues in the party, Dan Wandela Ogalo. We had many members of the ruling party then. I think there were about 5 or 6 then. I think possibly 6. But every time we'd be in Arusha, we'd be pushing for the national interest, for the regional interest. So it would be incumbent upon the ruling party, whether it is NRM, whether it is FDC, DP, or UPC, to create the environment in which there is ease amongst the parties that are within the country, even when they contest for power inside the country, to know that when it comes to the national interest, there must be trust. And if the ruling party was operating in such a way, to create an environment where we would sit down and come to an arrangement and say this is what would best serve us, you wouldn't find all these problems that we see. So, but they are so narrow because what drives them everywhere, not only in what they do internally, but even externally. They are driven by politics almost in everything. It's unfortunate, but and we are reaping really what has been sown for quite a while. The challenge is, how do we change that culture? Either General Museveni and those who work with him in the ruling party will recognize this and work to change it, or fail, and as we see this momentum that keeps on building for change, that the change happens, just a second, that the change happens, and then the challenge would be upon us who are in the opposition when we take over, whether we will have the capability to change that culture. Because what has confronted Museveni and floored him is what will confront us. Are we going to floor it, or shall it floor us as well? Because even Museveni is not the first president here. We have had regimes since '62. Everybody who's been in power here has been floored by that negative culture. General Museveni has had the longest time, the most opportune period, and also long as it has taken to change that culture. He has completely failed. He has exacerbated it. And the challenge is going to be whether we, ourselves, are going to change it.
Honorable Julius, you consider yourselves failures?
No, there is no failure. First of all, the election of the flag bearers, which parties are already undertaking is within the law. What we should be discussing whether the numerical strength is being observed. What other parties are thinking that NRM has not done the right thing is getting the 6 people. But out of the 9 members of parliament that we are sending on to EALA, to parliament for the election, is it the warranted numerical strength that NRM has? And if anything, we have 6 by the strength we have. Then the second thing, what we should also understand is if we look at all shades of opinion, which again they give the Speaker of Parliament a lot of powers to develop a consensus within all shades of opinion that are represented in Parliament, then there are some discussions that definitely will be done. Because the Speaker would not come out with some procedures that will be done until while he has seen the people that have brought in. Probably there would be no other shades of opinion that would have come out to agitate. So these are some of the things we need to appreciate right now. But the other thing that if I go back to the discussion that was there about the function, the national function that the President invited the EALA members, the national function coincided with the calendar of EALA, which was here in Kampala. In fact, we were supposed to proceed with the Parliament of EALA, but the Speaker invited all the members of EALA to go and attend the national function. The President also extended the invitation, even while he was opening up the Parliament. But that was not in any way wrong for the members of the opposition who sit in the EALA Parliament as members representing Uganda to attend. And in case the Honorable Member Mbide seem to be performing well for Uganda, what is wrong with the President appreciating him? Because while he is in Arusha, he speaks for Uganda. He doesn't speak for DP. And while the President would, in the first instance, feared that probably Mbida's DP would go there and try to instead, develop a perception of opposing.
Even when General Muntu speaks or Honorable Elias Lukwago speak, they are speaking for the betterment of Uganda. They are they're fighting for Uganda.
That's true.
So how come we have not seen them being appreciated?
No, look.
They speaking to criticize, but it's a critical in good faith.
Let's first of all be clear.
A critical.
Is this man Mbide able to make a decision on his own and go to a place where Museveni is? Is it possible that he can do that without being manipulated by Museveni? You see, we really reduce individuals into elements that it's not fair to look at Mbide and see him as somebody who cannot make a decision on his own. Secondly, we give Museveni wait. We probably give Museveni.
I'm still on the floor.
In relation to what you are saying,
we probably give Museveni more than he ever thought about himself. He is powerful. He is manipulative. He is everything that happens. He has calculated it. He is a Bentham calculator. But what about if he is that? Why can't somebody else also emulate him and be as effective as the calculator as he is? If somebody has the quality that it seems to excel and lead the country for 31 years.
In negativity, though.
Now, negativity, yes, General Muntu, your negativity is so big that even being here in this studio can still be interpreted as negative as long as it has happened in the last 31 years. There are certain things which we need to correct. Do at least a fair assessment of what the 31 years mean to
you just started by saying something is wrong in almost all sectors.
But look,
that was your first shot.
Patrick.
But before
Patrick,
just hold on.
I wanted to say something.
Professor Tassis, hold on your point.
Just a small
Honorable.
What has really amazed me about this world debate of Mbide attending EALA is the spirited defense these people are putting up for.
Now I am supposed to be presenting a spirited defense.
Not only you are
presenting a spirited criticism.
Professor Tassis.
That's what has amazed me.
I am amazed that you are also being so spirited.
Deserves to be appreciated.
Okay, let's get an example from General.
You also appreciate the Ugandan team at EALA has performed well. Now, in the mind of the President,
to appreciate Mbide, as much as he comes from the opposition, I think the president had the right to give a comment.
Okay,
so we should not misinterpret this whole thing just because we feel because Mbide comes from the opposition. Therefore,
comment on that because
Uganda.
it's an individual. We are also not being fair to him.
He also makes remarks. He also makes remarks about the president. This man here. This man here.
In the African environment, the presidency wields a lot of power. They literally influence the direction that the country takes. They literally influence the culture that is established, more so if there are those who stay there a long time. You can even read it at the time of independence. You see the character of nations almost was influenced by the character of the leaders who started at the independence time. You can see Tanzania, the way the direction took. You can see Kenya, you can other countries. We don't have strong institutions. We do not have a critical mass of people who have a high level of political consciousness to become a counterweight to any individual who tries to influence things at an individual level. We've not reached that point yet. It's incumbent, of course, upon leaders to move things in the right
who
direction.
Are immune to influence?
Now, when you
start with President Museveni, should we interpret that to mean that you have been compromised?
You know, that's example.
Do you have a price?
By the way, that's the example I wanted to. We know him. For us, we know him. And the mindset is very, very important. That's why I contest what Professor was saying to say that the issue of State House or where you are, mindsets are very, very important. We have had the president express his mindset in the open. Last year when he said by 5 years there will be no opposition. What does that mean? That's the mindset of a president.
And the mindset is equal to reality?
Yeah. What do you think influences actions?
Is it his job to build? Is it his job
Let me
to
tell
build
you,
opposition?
in our FDC,
Is it his job to build opposition?
it is his job to create an environment in which democratic practices are rooted in this country. In which multipartyism, no, not creating democracy. We take care of ourselves in FDC. The many actions of the regime trying to destabilize FDC, trying to split us, trying to destabilize us, have failed. They'll continue failing because at least we know how to protect ourselves. We have got, for example, a standing order in FDC. If there is any senior leader or leadership at the lower level who is invited by General Museveni, if that leader gets that information, he or she is supposed to contact certain offices within FDC.
Okay.
And when they are going to meet for the protection of the leader, we need to have another person that they go with to protect them. What does that mean? What does that mean?
You think the leadership of Uganda is
General Museveni has become so toxic.
Look at that.
Simply.
Look at that expression.
That's the reality. That's the reality. And that's why, for example, when you hear that someone has gone and seen the president of the country,
but you're able to become
the person
yourself
is
now.
pushed in a defensive position because they think that he has or she has been compromised. That's very unfortunate for a leader of a country.
But
I don't know whether he thinks about that.
But then you have individuals amongst yourselves who cannot be compromised. And you have those who think can easily.
Yeah, we have.
What makes
Totally, we have. We
are going to take a
This is
short break.
paranoia.
It's not paranoia.
This is paranoia.
It's reality.
Welcome back. You're watching On The Spot. My name is Patrick Amara, and my guests tonight are Honorable Elias Lukwago, Professor Tassis Kawejere, Honorable Julius Wandera Maganda, and the party president of FDC, retired Major General Mugisha Muntu. Let me begin with you on this, because let's look at the East African community itself. As far as the roadmap was concerned, by 2013, by now would be in a political federation. And now it appears the political federation is not anywhere near. And when you speak about East African community affairs in the different districts and counties of East Africa, are you really working in tandem with the people? Are they in sync with you? When you make sense, do you make sense also to them?
Yeah, I think, Kamara, that is one very big discussion that we can engage. But what I want to bring out to the public is the East African community is being built on the foundation of a people-centered community. We need to bring out the perspective that the 1977 collapse of the East African community seem to having been built on the leaders. We got a lot of benefits that right now we can come out and speak on. But the problem is, did the people appreciate, take it on? Did the people resist the collapse? The moment one ideology of a particular leader was not in tandem with the rest, it collapsed. So the building of the East African community and the pillars that we are building on our efforts to have the integration, we are taking a process which is okay. There are areas where you find that we may not at a particular time be on the same page, and we need to convince members. The treaty allows members to come on board, and that's when those protocols can easily be ratified. Now, that's where sometimes delays are coming on. But as I talk right now, we have already implemented the customs union, almost to 98%. There are a few things that URI is just trying to punch up to have the system operation across the whole region. But almost all regions are now able to run together. We have now the program of the common market, where we are now about 78%. And there are also many, many other programs that are coming on board that are trying to implement to say that there's a reality within the common market. And that's the biggest area where East Africans are going to assume the benefits. Once we have
Julius, let me put this also to Major General Montu, because he has been, he has represented Uganda in Arusha. Really, if you went to Burundi, let's say in Chibitoke, or Rwanda in Rengeri, or Nyahururu in Kenya, or here in Nagongera, or somewhere in Bagamoyo in Tanzania, and you're legislating for them, are those people really, do they really know what is taking place in Arusha? Do they even care?
I don't think there's enough awareness, at least in the rural setting, about the integration process. Some steps have been taken. I think EALA has really played a role in that. I don't think the countries have been so supportive, because they've been trying to rotate throughout the country. They do tours in the countries where they go. If the countries paid more focus and adequately finance them so that they can do tours in each country where they go as a way of sensitizing the public, so that eventually the people get to understand the benefits that they themselves at an individual level would be able to get through the integration process, through the common market, through the customs union. I think it would help in raising the consciousness of the population. I don't think we've reached there yet. However, I think the unfortunate thing I noticed, all these 6 countries now, 5, now they have become 6, are so immersed in their own internal domestic challenges that they don't pay adequate attention to the regional integration process. I think it is not a primary focus. Yet, if they focused on the integration process at the regional level, the advancement of the regional economic growth and development process would enable the entities that compose the region to grow as well. Again, there needs to be a shift in terms of mindset. There are so many positive things that if they focused on them, worked on them, and made breakthroughs in them, in the areas of energy, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of communications, if they were implemented, the decisions which are made, if they are all implemented, I can tell you the economic fortunes of these 6 countries would be advancing much faster than so far.
Professor Tarsis Kabojere, there was even a section, you know, supposed to fast-track the political federation of the East African community. And what happened to the fast-tracking? Is it still on the fast track anyway?
Let me tell you, Patrick, some of us are on record in '79 wanting that time to be ahead of everyone by having the Republic of Tanzania, Uganda and Tanzania forming a republic. Having had that union of strength in removing Amin with the support of Tanzanians. It's on record.
You want Tanzania to annex Uganda, in other words?
Look, use the right words.
You can
Tanzania did not come to annex Uganda.
So
Tanzania came to assist. Yeah, that's why I'm saying. We wrote something down with Kamuntu. We said we wish now we had now the Republic of Tanzania rather than wait for others to come in. Now, General Muto has made a very clear point. The enthusiasm for East African Federation is not equally distributed in the region. Let it be on record, Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, and the leadership in Uganda has been on the forefront in the revival of East African cooperation. There is absolutely no doubt about that.
But they have also created suspicion in the,
yes,
in the
you see, because some people, like in Tanzania, think that Museveni wants to be the president of East Africa. I had an argument with some of them at one point in Dar es Salaam. I said, what's wrong with that? Why are you so imagining that if somebody becomes the president of the region, it is a mistake? Federations are led. You know.
Why is he not building the foundation?
Now, this one, that question, please, you can build it better, and that's why I think some people ought to look at what they can do themselves and not pointing at failures of others. Because you have now an opportunity, you lead a party, you have been a general, so you can tell the world here, I can do this, and you will get a following. The platform is here. So to me, the issue of Tanzania, does Tanzania have the same enthusiasm, the political class? Do they have the same kind of enthusiasm as we have in Uganda? Question mark.
But we saw the enthusiasm of chasing Rwandese and Ugandan herdsmen from down.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the enthusiasm we saw.
No, that's
not of uniting.
No, that enthusiasm is the disintegration. It's not integration. Yes, the political class in Tanzania, just clear and simple, is not yet attuned to the regional integration.
Hold on there. Honorable Elias Lukwago, there seems to be some mutual suspicion before
comes in.
Yes.
You know what made the other countries get scared about the political integration process? When there were moves which successfully led, for example, the lifting of the term limits here, certain countries backtrack.
Or comes back to one individual. I hope we'll get over that.
It affects the region.
There's the age limit. So the age limit is.
That's the foundation I'm talking about.
There seems to be some mutual suspicion.
Let's look for a time when we have Muto as the president of Uganda and see what happens.
You see, we have to go back to the basics. And we must pose a question. What brings together community? You're a professor, you know that. There must be a set of values. Values you hold dear. A vision, a philosophy you espouse as a community.
Who creates those values?
You'll answer
one man?
Question. You know the answer. It can't be, of course, one person.
Yes.
But the question, the fundamental question you should ask yourself, do we have common values within this so-called East African community? Or it's an artificial integration of different states? If the events that took place recently in the Gambia are anything to go by, and the response to the same by ECOWAS, the regional bloc, in restoring the sanity, if it's anything to go by, it would tell you volumes that look here, we have a long way here, East Africa, to build such bloc that would integrate the different communities here.
Tanzania did it in '79.
That's why I'm intrigued by this revelation you have just made here,
yes,
of the Tazaganda. Yes. Actually, that was the beginning. What the spirit that informed that philosophy of Tazaganda? How did it die away?
Well,
listen. The Tazaganda, what brought you together, and what actually created that bond? It are the values you cherished. To agree and say, to hell with the dictatorship. And it was that spirit that motivated you, those who went into Moshi Conference, those who eventually chorused behind the Chikos Marum, the Fronasa, and also the Wakombozi, and ushered in a new dispensation here. But the moment you grabbed the power in 1986 and you started entrenching a personal rule, recently there was a sports gala for East African members of parliament, for EALA Parliament in Mombasa. And there was this member of parliament from Kenya who was spot on. He said, forget about this common currency, these things of common passport, common language that you were teaching Swahili here and what not. Let's talk about the values. How can you talk of integration when one president has ruled country for 31 years and is incarcerating his opponents, he's persecuting them, terrorizing them, torturing them, he's actually persecuting his own people. He is scared. This paranoia you're talking about, he's scared of his own people, the people he's supposedly leading. So on that premise, look here, there is let me conclude it. Do you know what has brought?
I think he's trying to show us the commonality, the value, our values.
But who creates value?
Let me explain this.
Yes.
Just as I conclude. Yes. Do you know recently when they came up with the idea? Actually, it started here. The idea of pulling out of ICC, and eventually they convinced all these dictators in AU that that thing is a liability. It started here. President Museveni went and addressed Kenyans. The majority of the people in Kenya want their country to remain in ICC. But here they struck a common ground. Uhuru, Museveni, Kagame, Kabila, go to Salva Kiir, all of them are in agreement that we should pull out of ICC. That brings them together. But if you are to ask the communities they lead, totally different opinion and position. So what does that tell you? That the people are not integrated. It's only a cabal of leaders who are coming together to entrench themselves in power. That is all.
A cabal of leaders.
A cabal of leaders.
Do you know this man tries to entrench himself in power?
Let me open, just at least I give an opportunity to two people to make your contributions via telephone so that we can hear what you have to say today, because this is about you. And it's not just us in the studio. You have you are stakeholders in this project Uganda. Let me take just one or two callers online. Hello. Hello. Okay. All right. As we try to get those calls coming in, Honorable Julius Wandera, you wanted to respond to the Lord Mayor.
I just wanted to bring out clear to the discussion that the treaty has allowed the member states as for now to run according to the national constitutions. We have some kind of dynamics that exist within countries that we have to preserve. Now, what is most important is our way of observing good governance and democracy. Now, sometimes people may assume that while you go for an election and you win for several times, that is not democracy.
Yeah.
That's what the assumption, because somebody
you
is
must
not
lose.
able to win,
You must lose.
therefore it is not democracy.
Yes.
Now, while we go in Rwanda, right now they are running
Very good point.
a 7-year term of office. Are we saying that now, because Rwanda is at 7 years, Uganda has no term limits, they shouldn't be members of the region? So what we are supposed to look at,
in the values we are talking
about, until while we are fast tracking the political federation, which will have its own constitution, that's when we are going to discuss on all those other dimensions.
Okay, now I understand I have quite a number of people who just want to contribute. Let me just take pick one or two. Hello.
Yes, Patrick.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from? Make it very precise and concise, sir.
Yeah, you are talking to Murungi Patrick calling from Bundugujo.
Okay.
One of the things that we needed to put in place at times when you bring leaders in the studio there, they should not have the annoyance of the personality of Museveni. Otherwise, we shall never get anything good out of the discussion. Every time people are annoyed of Museveni,
Yes.
instead of coming to discuss issues the way they are. Thank you.
Okay, I'll call her from Bundugujo. Let me take
about
just one more. Hello.
Who died a long time ago.
Directing the discussion.
Yes, good evening, Brother Kamara.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, I'm called Nyombi Richard BMRO, calling in from the ends of Munyonyo.
Okay.
My greetings to the Honorable Lord Mayor and the president of my party, Major General Bishop.
The panel. The greetings to the panel. Okay.
Okay, greetings.
It's fair enough. That's okay. Okay.
So I have 2 points to make. The first one, Museveni and the NRM, have caused the havoc in East African communities to the extent that even the appointees, the members of the EALA Assembly,
the appointees.
The NRM members were voted from the influence Museveni gave
the members who voted those representatives. But it wasn't for the consent of the people who were voting themselves. It was an influence of Museveni, as usual. His dictatorship went all the way to that extent.
Okay. You made your point, Mr. Vyamaro. Let me take the last call online so that at least we involve the people who are watching this discussion tonight. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Dr. Namoyo calling from Soroti, Uganda.
Go right ahead, Dr. Namoyo, sir.
I wanted to contribute to the debate.
Okay.
I wanted the different members around and the panel. I thank you for doing everything good. But I wanted the politician to copy.
Do not listen to yourself. Keep going.
Uganda, what we are doing in Uganda for East Africa. That's in the I department or I fraternity. We have the East African, Central and South African College of Ophthalmologists. We don't regard individuals as important. We call the whole East African community as patients and we work with them together. I would therefore like the political parties and the individuals who are participating in the EALA to go as a country.
Using which vehicles?
So that we can look at issues that affect the local people of the East African community.
Okay. Well, I think you've made your point, Doctor. Unfortunately, there was some time lag. There was an echo, and so you were trying to listen to yourself as well, and that did not give us very good conversation. Our time is almost out, unfortunately. So, okay, I'm told they've added me some time. I'll take only two, and then we get back to the studio. Hello? Sorry about that. Hello? I have a call online. Hello? Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Kenneth from Entebbe.
Entebbe. What's your name again?
Kenneth from
Kenneth.
Entebbe.
Kenneth. Go right ahead, sir, Kenneth.
Patrick, how are you and the crew?
We are all fine, thank you.
Well done for the discussion. But one thing that interests me is whenever a panel or individuals tend to insinuate that President Museveni is a dictator. But after 5 years, we are going into election. And he keeps winning. He keeps winning. Why can't the opposition, for example, come up to and massively mobilize to win election? And then we see if President Museveni want to go away. The other thing is also you must appreciate in leadership. There are so many.
Why didn't he wait for the 2005 election?
You can, for example,
1985 election.
It is allowed in democracy. You can coerce if somebody accepts to join you. You work with him. If he fails, you have other opinions, and these are all ways. That's why he is able to manage for the 31 years. Those are the tricks that opposition should learn.
And then the Lord Mayor is asking you, Kenneth, that why is it that President Museveni could not wait in 1981 or 80 for another election in 1985 to challenge Dr. Bote?
Yes, Patrick, that is history. We have other things also to learn.
Okay.
But should also be said that he's the one who allowed this man to win.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kenneth Entebbe. Okay, okay.
So
Professor, this one have an expose.
Yeah.
The President
So
allowed.
I am the office of the Lord Mayor at his pleasure.
No, no. From what is being said,
So is the one who told me.
Museveni is so powerful that even his winning was dependent on Museveni.
How?
That's what you are saying.
How?
Well, that's what you are saying. Because you see, when you
How is
when
he
you
saying
see
how?
when you see Museveni as omnipresent or manipulative or everything, then you can't see your success independent of him. You must have
mean I cannot?
defeat.
It's not possible for me to overcome the hurdles in the way.
Now that is precisely what you
to overwhelm his region machinery.
Exactly. That's what party opposition should overwhelm him and win. You should overwhelm and win.
That will happen.
When you lose, when you lose and then say,
It's not a one-off. It's a process.
You know,
It's gradual.
yes, so wait for
We are doing that.
another
That's why
30
it
years,
took him 5 years.
Another 31 years.
That's
then you
why
can
it
win.
took him 5 years to depose
I
Obote.
think what we should be discussing here is what we benefit as a country with the East African integration and what Uganda should expect of the EALA members that they are sending to the assembly. If we bring that together with the dynamics that are coming with the presentation in parliament alongside the parties, probably we could get something out of this discussion. But I can see we are already refocusing our mind on the element of the leadership of Museveni, and then we leave out what the benefits that are coming with the region. But the president has been very clear, and I want to say this: Uganda has come out clearly to push for the integration.
Yes, very much.
Clearly to push for the integration. Many things have come out that we could be benefiting as a country if other member states would also be moving at the same level the way we are.
But
I know
I understand the money that is moving things that in Arusha, the Secretariat, is actually donor funded from the European Union.
Yes, but you know,
I just want to know.
The treaty allows the Secretariat to develop projects and seek for partners. Governments, the member states also have a contribution that they make. But the money is not enough because we have so many projects that are coming out, even within the member states.
I've had the speaker and the Secretary General saying governments are not contributing, you know, quick enough or even putting what is expected of them.
Yes. Even while they are contributing,
you're surviving on the European Union. Is that a project that really, General Muntu?
to me,
Yes.
the taste of the pudding is in the eating. For you to judge the extent which any of these 6 partner states is ready to integrate should not be dependent on what they say. It must be dependent on what they do. If you see any country among the 6 which is ready to cede power to the center, for example, the first country that you see, or 1 or 2, 3, 4, which are ready to expand the jurisdiction of the East African Court of Justice so that there can be appeals on issues of human rights to the East African Court of Justice. Whether there can be appeals on electoral contestations, then you know that country is ready to integrate in a serious way. Because the moment they do that, then they build trust.
Patrick,
Can I give you
But none of them is ready yet.
Okay.
Just simply paying lip
yes,
service.
in the law school and even in the practice, you do find lawyers citing cases which were decided by IACA, East African Court of Appeal, in the 60s, and they are still good, authorities here. But the recent ones, actually very few people know about the existence of this East African Court which deals on human rights and what not. Time and again, Uganda Law Society has tinkered with the issue of integration and what not.
Is that Museveni's problem? Is that his weakness?
They are not ready to cede powers to the center. That's the point he's making.
Patrick,
Yes,
Patrick,
I was
how long
we made these proposals for the expansion of the jurisdiction of the East African Court of Justice, and all these countries on that question were mute.
now?
We also made a proposal that we should have a regional electoral commission that would conduct elections when it came to the presidential and parliamentary. Because if they accede to those, they would build trust. The citizens themselves would feel comfortable. Now there is mistrust. Each country looks at the other and thinks that these people will come into this and they will contaminate us.
Patrick,
None of the countries is ready to do that.
Patrick, we are lucky,
To this.
and the audience listening in and watching, we are lucky we have him. He has been in the East African Legislative Assembly. How does he explain those proposals that he seems to have participated in making? Why have they not worked? Is it Museveni again who has been stopping them?
Countries.
Now these
The
countries,
government.
why is this?
Government.
Because this is precisely the point I want to raise.
You know?
How long did it take Europe to be in the European Union? You see, there are things which take time to happen, wishes notwithstanding.
So why do they want to integrate?
Yes, why do they
Without
want to
those
integrate?
building
But
blocks in
even
place?
those, you see, compare
Why were they trying to fast track
Exactly,
integration
exactly.
without putting the building blocks in place?
Exactly,
Without building a farm
No, you were there. You were there.
yes.
You were there.
You kept on
And-
talking to them.
and
We made the
okay,
president
now.
weep.
Yes.
No.
Now, so.
They're just paying lip service.
Okay,
in
now.
short.
So what do we do? Do we hang
We
them?
continue struggling.
Yes, but
That's what we're
precisely
doing.
that's where the point. That's why I want to separate wishes.
No, don't listen to
From-
what they say in short. They're just simply.
But if we don't listen to what they are saying, then we will
They
listen
do.
to nothing.
No,
what they
members,
do is in conflict with
members.
what they say.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I mean, Mr. Moderator, we are getting somewhere. There are things we wish to happen, which don't happen, and our effort is to see what is there that is stopping these things moving as fast as we want.
They want to eat their cake and have it.
And
alone.
one thing, Patrick,
the East African heads of state also in a certain cabal of sorts that's supposed to, cheat the East African people?
You see,
Are they in their own cocoon?
Yeah, sure. You see, he has made a very, very important revelation here, and it's one thing I've benefited from this program. This idea they are tinkering with Tanzania and how it suffered a stillbirth because they did not have the will to nurture it. No, listen.
You have the will now.
No, listen.
We
And
have
now
it.
this cabal you are talking about
But the
is
will was
focused on
manifested in
regime
the
protection.
East African community.
That's why I've told you they have built consensus around things that would protect them into power, not things that will inculcate a culture, cultivate a
How do you
culture
end that? How do you end
of
that?
democracy.
How do you end that?
How you end that is by getting rid of this cabal we are talking about right now.
You have a hell of a job.
No, okay. Simply because you have entrenched yourself deep into. Anyway,
I think what
anyway, one thing. Let me conclude on this point. People said we shouldn't get obsessed with the person of President Museveni, but I find it inevitable. It's not possible
That's where you
to
go
divorce
wrong.
these individual leaders from the whole debate we are talking about of East African integration, because the whole processes we are talking about right now are being driven by leaders. They are not people driven. It's not, the civil society is nowhere. Where is the civil society in all this? They are not there. The religious leaders, the political parties, what role does FDC play in this process? DP, and all, because we have 36 registered political parties, what role are they playing? What role, these various formations we have in society, what role are they playing? It's only the summit, and even the Council of Ministers, I don't know how effective it is anyway.
So what should
but
we
it's
do?
only the summit, and wherever they sit is to focus about entrenchment of their dictatorships in their respective jurisdictions, and that is all.
So what do we do?
Wandera,
Yes.
What is your way out?
the European Union, after
To
more
get
than
you-
50
to
years,
get you out of
have
power.
not done a political federation. In fact, they seem to be exiting the case of Britain. Why are we?
Yes, but those are
However, we are in a better position than them
Yes.
because of certain factors. It is possible actually here to have political integration. If you have got two things, one, either a sense of consciousness within the 6 partner states, in the elite, in the business community, for the benefits of integration, and they drive it, we could have that.
Yes.
Even if before we have that, if you have leaders who are clear about the outcomes of integration, the benefits of integration, and they act in concert but without selfishness as the motive, you can also have that. What we have today is we don't have enough leaders at the national levels who have got the foresight and also the extent to which they are able to sacrifice power.
How long will we
That's
get to
why we
that?
have a problem.
How long will it take to get to those numbers? Because you see,
I don't know.
yeah,
We have to keep working.
Yes, this is where
I don't know.
this is where General Muntu.
We have to keep
You
working.
sometimes talk about the future
Yeah.
without hope.
No.
I get that impression.
If I was
because
someone
you
who had
see,
no hope, I would not be struggling all these years.
okay, but you can struggle.
Yeah.
You can struggle and never win and never get anywhere.
But
Now,
you get kind of
now-
Yes,
Patrick.
sure.
Yes.
I think our being here tonight is one element in that whole equation that we are sharing. You heard somebody from Bundubujo. There must be many people listening in. This is part of the consciousness building. 3 things are working together now. I think there is more benefit coming together in East African region. We can cross the border with one ID. Telephones are beginning to communicate. We haven't quite done it very well, but we are supposed to be one. The railway, if the railway comes, we can move goods across board very effectively. These things are going to impact on what you call the mindset.
Let me ask, can I free cross to Southeast Sudan now?
No, but
with one passport?
But look,
is it possible?
Look, I was
without political crisis.
Honorable,
With a political crisis there.
Julius Wandera,
could
there
you
were
go to Karamoja
Ugandan
before there was
businessmen
peace there?
who
What
were
are you talking
dealing
about?
with South Sudan. They supplied the government of South Sudan goods and services worth millions of dollars. And some of them are even run out of business. The government did not pay them, and yet they are negotiating with you to include them in the East African community. Didn't you really hurry as a region?
Yeah. Now, one thing that I want us to get clear is getting South Sudan to integrate is in itself trying to get the South Sudan to a level that they can now observe of the requirements that would make it peaceful, a more secure country. Ugandan businessmen, there are many who had contracts with governments, the government of South Sudan, and they have a claim. The government of South Sudan have appreciated that yes, we had this kind of contract, and they have requested the government of Uganda how they can help to settle as it becomes a bilateral kind of arrangement, and then there would be recovery.
But you know that has not worked for many years.
Yes, but government is working on it. Government is working on it, and I just want to create hope in our people. Then the second thing is South Sudan being integrated in it itself. If we have clear leaders without the South Sudan, it has a bigger kind of market. It has a bigger benefit that even South Sudan itself will benefit from. The other partner states. Now, there's one thing that I just want to speak about. The integration at the aspect of a political federation probably may not even be hurried until when people get to understand the benefits, especially on the pillar of the common market, because that is where the biggest benefits with the integration are based. These other issues of the monetary union are just trying to facilitate the process.
Okay, let's
I just wanted to say that in one way or the other, the constitution of the political federation is going to determine how the integration process will be done at the political level.
What are we saying to Kenya?
Beginning with you,
what are we saying to Kenya?
Honorable Yasukwago, in a minute, your concluding remark.
Well,
in 36 seconds, actually.
What I would say, it's an absurdity that we have witnessed this fiasco happening, and more especially in a place where you would expect the fountain of honor to take charge of the state affairs, now being desecrated to that level, to the extent that people almost exchanged blows. It's very, very unfortunate. It is something these people should apologize for. And also, we must cultivate a culture of democracy before we can talk about integration. Without that, it's just foolhardy. We shall just be deceiving ourselves.
Very quickly, Professor Tassis, your parting shot.
Well, to me, we are at a point better than 30 years ago, than 50 years ago. We can now talk about the issue of integration. There are good reasons. There are examples. There are efforts being made. There are problems on the way, and those problems must be addressed. Which success have you ever had without meeting problems? Federation will come. Some of us wished that it came yesterday.
Tazaganda.
Yes. Now this one has just picked a word.
Tazaganda.
Yes.
Okay.
That level of simplicity is what we must avoid.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Yeah, for me, I just want to conclude by saying that Uganda and the East African community, we know where we are coming from and we know where we want to go. The only way to go is to integrate. And we should not make comparisons on those regions that integrated over 50 years ago. The ECOWAS that they are talking about has not had any disruption we had built a very good foundation on the integration. It collapsed along the way, and definitely we are rebuilding it. So I just want to urge all Ugandans and people within East Africa to allow all these organs of the integration process, all the pillars, to take course, and we see that we all be part of the process, and
Thank
then
you
we shall benefit
very
as a
much.
team.
And lastly, General Muntu.
We've had 15 years within which there could have been adequate preparations for the elections of LC1. We don't have a roadmap. We don't have civic education that has been conducted. We've had 5 years within which adequate preparations could have been made for the elections of EALA. We just saw the fiasco that happened in State House. The ruling party needs to wake up. Time should be used efficiently and effectively to make preparations for things which benefit the public.
But they can't wake up.
If they are not able to wake up,
Yes.
the public needs to understand that
Elias
this
will wake us up.
regime has reached a point where it simply should be relegated to the sidelines. So we can chart a way forward and build a better future than so far where we are.
Thank you very much. You have heard them, all these four panelists tonight. They sometimes criticize each other and disagree, different opinions, but I think they all do that not because they hate each other, but I'm persuaded to think because they love their country more. Good night and God bless Uganda.